Hi, welcome back to We Are Wool People. My name is Ailsa and on this channel we talk about knitting. So greetings today from a very cold and blustery east coast of Australia. We're right in the throes of winter here, and even though it's clear and sunny outside, the wind is really cold, and as you can see I'm very rugged up. I thought that what I'd do today is give you a very quick rundown of what ended up happening with my Levitate Wrap that I frogged back to bare yarn in my episode last week, which was just over 2 weeks ago, I think, about 17 days ago. So as you can see, I've done it again. I've restarted the Levitate Wrap and I've very nearly finished it. I've got this much sleeve to go and it's just about finished. It was extremely heavily modified in the end. So let me tell you just quickly what I ended up doing, and I'll put some proper B-roll in of me modelling it before I upload, but let me just tell you super quick about what I did to kind of fix it. And I'm not actually sure that I've really fixed it that well, but it's one of those knits now when honest to God, I can't wait to see the back of it. So this is it. It's not happening again. This is the final iteration of the Levitate Wrap. I had some challenges with it that are partly pattern problems and partly gauge problems, I guess, and also probably partly pattern choice problem. And that could probably, I think, be the major determinant of why I'm not in love with this wrap. I'm not in love with this wrap jumper. Anyway, I'll show you what I mean. In spite of the Ravelry page frontline picture being a wrap that really appealed to me, and I did look at the projects on Ravelry as well, but I feel like I must have been having some sort of cognitive bias that made me believe, because I wanted it, that every one of the projects I really like the look of, because when I look at them now, I don't. For example, let me show you the picture of the wrap on the front page of the pattern, and I know that I'm very old school and I still print my patterns. So if you actually have a look up close, I think anyway, at the kind of style of knit appearance on the pattern page, I just stand like that and I look exactly the same. The knitting on the pattern page is a bit ropey. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised that the knitting on mine is a bit ropey. It's a difficult yarn to actually get the knitting stitches to come out with an evenness and a sort of professionalism that I like. And I guess holding it with this lace weight kind of string doesn't really help in that regard. But having said that, it is really cozy and it is very warm. And what I'm wearing it with which is my the idea was for me to make it to go to Bendigo, because when I go to Bendigo, which I'm going on Wednesday, which is only a couple of days away, it's going to be really super cold down there, and I wanted something that I would be able to walk around the Bendigo Sheep and Wool Show and possibly without a jacket if it does get sunny, because I'm only short and I feel really bulky and uncomfortable sometimes when I'm wearing too many layers, whereas this is very warm with the alpaca and wool in it, and it's very thick yarn and it is very cozy. So to that end, I guess if you're looking at something that has got like an elevated kind of loungewear vibe, then this is a good knit for that. I just don't really like that look, I guess. Anyway, I'm wearing my thermal polo neck from Uniqlo, which is super warm, and my plan was to wear this top, this wrap, and a pair of cream trousers and some boots to the actual show, and I still might, we'll see. I am leaving to go to Bendigo on Wednesday, and I'm very excited, Thursday rather, and I'm very excited. I'm going to try and do a vlog. I don't know how to do a vlog, and I tell you something straight up, I'm going to feel like an absolute idiot when I'm out in public hanging onto a camera and talking into a camera, you know, like you see people doing at the gym. Let's just see whether I'm going to be able to overcome my self-consciousness and even do that. Anyway, let me tell you about these massive modifications that I ended up making on the Levitate Wrap. The first thing I did was I changed the increase rate that came from the shoulders. So what you do when you make it is that you cast on across here, and then because the shoulder seam is further down the back, and then you pick up across here and come forward for the two side bits. Now that's where the first kind of, in my opinion, right, kind of weakness in the pattern is, because where you start your neckline pickup, it's very close to the neck at the back. And as you increase, and quite far down the back, so as you increase, it tends to stay quite close up against the neck, which I didn't really want. So I changed the increase rate from every second row, which would have made it really like that, right? Made the angle steeper. And so I changed it to every fourth row, all the way through, until I got to a stage where I measured the gauge and I knew that the number of stitches that I had in the two fronts, on this side and this side, were both roughly half of, or were almost the full width of my body, rather, not half. But so you picking up down here and increasing and increasing and increasing, you're going straight. And I stopped when I knew that the distance between this stitch and this stitch was roughly my body size. And I did that on both sides, obviously, because as you're going, you're doing it on both sides. And then I picked up and knitted the band, which is 4 stitches of double knitting, or 11 stitches rather, of double knitting all the way around. And the pattern calls for 11 stitches. I did 15, so my band is a little bit wider. And then when I got to the bottom, and I probably should have realised exactly what I was going to do before I got to this stage, but I didn't kind of decide until after I got to this stage. But when I got to the bottom, what you have is, on this side you have a provisional cast on, and on the other side you have a Italian bind off. You've already got a tubular bind off. So when I started across here and went, this is my provisional cast on was here. I went round and round and round and round and round and round and round until I got to a stage, might have been the other way, till I got to a stage where I thought that the crossover was about right. I didn't want this crossover to come right up underneath my waist, because that would have pulled it really high in the neck. So I got to a stage where I thought, well, there'll be a bit of a V and that's about right. And then I stopped and I left these stitches in here live on the needle, and I sewed them into the back of the wrap, instead of having 2 complete separate pieces that were going to join over each other and leave the whole, the band at the bottom double thickness. I stopped and I tucked one into the other and sewed it in. And then I just did another tubular bind off here and sewed it on. And it actually does not look great. But what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to make a bow, a faux bow. Well, it'll be a real bow, but it'll be a faux tie. So I'm going to, with the yarn I've got left over, which by the way is not a lot, but I'm going to make a bow, and I'm going to attach a bow here, separate and fake, which makes it look like it's tied up but isn't. And so I feel like in that way I've avoided the bulk of the long wrap tie that is in the pattern, and also the kind of a little bit, the pattern tells you to put a press stud here and then still pull the ties around. So I'm not going to do that. I've just actually sealed it permanently there, and I'll put the bow on and I'll sew the bow on, and then I'll just leave it like this. And then the sleeve is done, and this sleeve is almost done. I should finish this sleeve tonight, hopefully Monday night. The bottom of the sleeve has got a really nice treatment that I liked. It went down about 3 needle sizes. It went right down. Well, I went down to a really 3.25, and you knit a stocking stitch band and then a purl row, and then another the same number of stocking stitches again, and then sew them on the inside. I think that looks good. It gives it a very, very simple clean line all the way to the bottom of the sleeve. And I haven't done any blocking or steaming or anything like that, as you can kind of tell, I imagine. So I'm going to hopefully get it finished tonight, get all the ends woven in. All the ends are woven in. The only one that I'll need to do will be the sleeve when it's finished. So hopefully I'm going to finish the sleeve tonight, give it a good block tomorrow, which is Tuesday, and then get it somewhere either in front of a heater or somewhere where there's a source of warmth and dryness, so that it will dry by Thursday morning, so that I can actually wear it, possibly on the plane, to fly to Melbourne to go to Bendigo on Thursday. So there's the story of what happened to my Levitate wrap in the end. I know that I said I was going to do the May ball wrap, and I'm still kind of sorry that I didn't. But when I looked at that pattern, the actual gauge of it was different. And because this had asked for the very specific combination of this Isia soft and this Isia, whatever it's called, trio, it was such a specific yarn combination. It was going to be quite difficult to modify that new pattern into something that it wasn't really designed for. So what I did was I heavily modified the Levitate wrap, so much so that it's probably not really a Levitate wrap. Proving that, one more thing I will tell you that I think is a bit, when you knit this style of shoulder seam, where the shoulder seam doesn't sit at it's called English tailoring, I think. And someone mentioned in a comment that it was called fully fashioned tailoring. But my understanding, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is fully fashioned tailoring specifically refers to the direction of the increases or decreases along each side of a seam, wherever it may be. Fully fashioned means that they're leaning decreases in, I think. Anyway, but fully fashioned / English tailoring, where in fact the seam of the shoulder doesn't sit at the top of the shoulder, it sits further back, and therefore the arm side in the front is slightly longer than the arm side in the back. And therefore, when you pick up for your sleeves, if you want your sleeves to be tubes, which they are, right, your front sleeve stitch count is longer than your back sleeve stitch count. So if you stick the center of the row directly in the underarm, where you cast on under the arms, it's actually not the center of the sleeve, is it? No. And so I think that because of that, there's a little bit of a bunch up in the back of the sleeve, because the increases or the decreases are actually at the center. But that's a very overthinking technical way of looking at these sleeves. They look okay from the front, but they just don't feel kind of right. But I think after a block, then it'll all relax, it'll all get a little bit slouchy up, a little bit bigger, but not so oversized as the one that I frogged back last fortnight. So there you go. The Levitate Wrap, my favourite things, not one of my favourite things, and proving most of all, I guess, where there's a will, there's a way, and I found a way. So, that brings my finished autumn knitting tally to 5. Hang on a second, I'm going to do something. So I thought I'd do a little recap of how I'm going with my fantasy fall knits plans, because we're in the middle of July now, so I'm probably looking at another 6 to 8 weeks of cold weather before we have to start thinking, or before I'll be starting to think about more lightweight summer knits. And I feel like I've gone pretty well on my fantasy fall knits plan. First one I really wanted to knit, the first jumper I really said I wanted to knit was the Oxford jumper, and I did that, and here it is, finished. And I really liked that knit, and I liked her patterns. I'd probably like to knit something else of hers actually, because that was a really good pattern. I enjoyed it. The other pullover that I've made is the Paul sweater by, I don't know, somebody. Paul sweater. And I was really pleased to get this out of the way too, because this was a really great stash buster. I had this yarn in my stash since I went to Japan in like 2018, I think. And I really loved the yarn when I bought it. And I was really, every time I looked at it, it was kind of stressing me out, because I was thinking I should make something with that. And so I have, and I'm really happy with it because it's very warm, very thick, and it's got a beautiful weight and a drape to it, and that's going to be a very, very cozy knit. I'm definitely going to take that with me down in the depths of the freezing Bendigo countryside, Victorian countryside. And then there's my Jock collar, which, as you remember, is the open-sided slip over that was from Paula Strick, Suzanne Muller. It's a great knit because it's so easy to get on and off, as you can see, and because of the open sides in it, it's kind of it's a little bit unexpected, and I really, really liked this knit more than I thought I was going to. You know, I was really, very, very pleased with it. It was a bit of a challenging knit. Certainly half fisherman's rib is that's done partly in the round and partly backwards and forwards. It was a challenge, but the pattern was really good, and I really love the finishes of it. You can't necessarily see them that well because of the dark yarn, but I would definitely make another one of those, but maybe this year. The other thing that I had on my list, my wish list, got a new computer and it goes to sleep after about 2 minutes. I should probably work that out. The other thing that I did have on my wish list was the Wrap Me Up sweater scarf that was by Knititude. I didn't end up casting on for one of those. It does look like a lot of knitting, but I did buy one that I think I was wearing in my previous video. I didn't mention it because I didn't knit it, but I bought one from Seed, and it's a beautiful colour. It's got a balloon sleeve and a crossover front, or it's more of a twist in the front, and then another balloon sleeve. It's a very cosy knit too. It's a bit hard to get it to sit right in the front though, but I ended up buying a Wrap Me Up sweater scarf type of knit instead of knitting one because I wasn't going to get time. So there we go. That is my wrap up for my fall winter knits. I've got the Priscilla cardigan on my needles, and there have been 2 Q jumpers. One of them is the Rib Wave pullover by Joanna Ang, and the other one is Sari Nordland's beautiful Poetria pullover. But I'm going to be very excited to get this off the needles and out of the way so I can concentrate on those 2. And then the bow that I'm going to knit that is going to go on here, I think I'll start as my travel knitting for Bendigo. Anyway, have I told you I'm going to Bendigo? I have told you that quite a few times. You'd be sick to death of hearing it, especially if you're not in Australia and you go, well, who even cares? But I guess Bendigo sheep and wool is the equivalent of our Rhinebeck, I suppose. So I'm really excited about going to Bendigo sheep and wool. And if you're an Australian knitter and you happen to see me and my friend Donna sloping around the Bendigo sheep and wool show, come and say hello. I'm going to be looking out for other YouTubers as well so I can say hello to them. And I think that'll be fun. I really love the knitting community, and in a lot of ways I used to go to a lot of knitting groups, or some knitting groups that were really big and really friendly, and they've kind of not necessarily had the comeback for me anyway since COVID, so I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of knitters all in one place again, which is great. Once again, thank you so much for spending some time with me. Your time's precious. I hope you got some knitting done. And if you like this video and you want to see how my projects are going to evolve, or if you want to hear more from me or hang out with me again, please consider subscribing to the channel and give the video a like if you thought it was okay. I really appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.